Hello dear fashion designers, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, you're welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for tuning in again. So in today's video, this is the part 2. This is the sewing part of the overbust pattern that we drafted in my last video. So without further ado, let's dive in. So here I've gone ahead to cut out my pattern on my fabric, adding ½ inch sewing allowance to the sides and also to the upper part. Now because I'm going to be taping it at the lower part, that's the hem area, I'm not adding any sewing allowance to it. Now by the side of the side back and the side front, I went in with 1 inch. So please take notes. You can add ½ inch if you want to, depending on what you want to do, because I will end up cutting the allowance that it's there. Next, I went ahead to add interfacing to all my fabric. The main fabric, this is the main fabric and Ankara fabric. I added a paper stay to it, that's the soft one, and then I did the same thing for the lining. Now for the lining, I'm also going to go ahead to add interfacing at the bust area, only at the center front and also at the middle front. So I went in to add wadding to the breast area just like this. Now one thing that is very important is that you notch your nipple point, your under bust area, and also the waist area. These notches are going to help you while joining each part together. So next, I'm going to go ahead to join it together, all the sides. Now this is what we have. I've gone ahead to join all the sides together, and I've also opened it up with an iron. Now while ironing this, that's the bust area, make sure that you used a bust arm to do that. Okay, so I've done the same thing also at the back. I've joined all the pieces together, both the lining and the main fabric, and this is what we have. Now one thing I like to do for my bustier area is to use an hair stay to cover the sewing allowance so as to make it much more flat. You can choose to cover the whole bust area with your hair stay if you want to. I prefer to cut out a straight piece about 2½ inches for the width, and then I'll just cover the seam allowance just like this so as to have a very flat bustier area. So I'm just going ahead now to use my iron to cover it up, okay, using my bust arm. Now take note that I'm using my bust arm. My bust arm is under my fabric and I am covering it up just like this. Like I do say, for any corset you will need your bust arm. Is a very important tool. So take your time to iron it out very properly. All right. So next, I'm going to be using the bust caging method, which is best for your overbust corsets, okay? And I'm using my marker to draw out the lines where I'm going to be sewing my boning. Now I'm going on with the vertical lines first, and you can see how I'm doing it, okay? So next, I'm going to connect the nipple area. Now it's very important that your boning should pass across your nipple area. Though I'm not sure if it's compulsory, but I think it's important. You can come up with another style that works later and it's fine. After marking out the lines to an extent, I'm just going to go ahead to sew it out just like this. So I'm using a sewable boning. Another important thing is that you must sew on the same part, that's on the joining part of your center front and your side front. It's very important that you add a boning to it, okay? This is going to cage the bust very well. Now when you are working with a plus size, it's very important that you give it little space, okay? that means you will need a lot of boning. If you are using for maybe someone of size 6, it might not require so much of boning, but for this, for a plus size 40 upward or 38 upward, you need to really bone it so as to bring out the bust area very well. So you can see here, I'm just using my hand to show you where I'm going to be passing my boning. Okay, so you can just watch me as I sew it. Let your boning be close to each other so as to bring out a perfect shape for your bustier, especially for a plus size. So this is what we have. Next, I'm going to go ahead to now sew my boning round the, from the upper area round to the under bust area. Now for this, you can choose to, make your boning to be curved before sewing. But for me here, I sometimes prefer to sew the curvy area on my machine. Yes, it is kind of difficult and then muscle taking, energy taking, okay, but I just prefer to do it. Now you can just use your plier to remove 2 strings or bring out 2 strings to create a curve, okay. But the truth is that even for a curve, you can still work it out on your machine, even though it might just be energy taking. So you can see how I'm sewing it down to the curve. Now my boning is stopping at the joining of the side front and the middle front. So that's it. Now it's only the sewing the first part that is kind of difficult. By the time you are sewing the other side of the bone, it's much more easier. So this is what we have for the parts. Next, I'm going to go ahead to also sew the upper area just like this, and this is what we have. Okay, now so that's it. I'm going to turn it the other way around, and then I'll use my bust arm to iron it. Okay, now it's very important for you to have a perfect bust caging. Iron it with your bust arm. So because I'm using a dry iron, I try to spray water on it while ironing. If you're using a steam iron, there might not be need for that. So take your time to make sure that the bust area is curved. Iron it, because when you're ironing it, you're melting it down to the shape of the bust that you want to do. And you can even use your hand to fold it, to bend it to your desired shape. So that's it for that. Next, for the fleshing, I'm going to use my fiber, and this is what I have. I just sample it sides first, then I'll go ahead put in my Emmy gum. So after that is done, I'm going to go ahead to place in my fibers and then iron it. So just take your time to iron it out. If you have not watched my video on how to make a funnel corset, I made a detailed video on how to make a funnel corset, and I also talked more about fleshing your bust cage. I will leave the link on the description or on the comment section. You can check it out. So next, on my main fabric, I'm going to go ahead to bone it as well. Now to do that, I'm going to draw out my lines. I try to first of all get the center part of the front pattern, because I'm going to add 2 bonings at the center front here. I will add a boning at the joining side and also one more boning at the middle front pattern. So I'm just using my chalk right now to trace it out. So I will go ahead to add my boning to it. If you don't know how to pipe a bone, I have a video on it. Like I said, this is my second video on how to make an overbust corset. In my first video, I've explained in detail how to pipe a bone. In order not to make this video so long, so I've gone ahead to do that here. So next I'm going to just turn it around with the lining. So I sewed the upper part. Remember, I left ½ inch for the upper part so as to turn the lining. For the back of the dress, at the lining part, I went ahead to add boning to the joinings, and then I turned it together from the edge. That's where the eyelet is going to be. Now for the eyelet for this corset dress, I'm going to making use of a plastic bone. So therefore I went ahead to create channels at the center back so that the plastic bone will pass through it. There are different methods on how to properly bone where your eyelet is going to be, but for this dress I'll just be making use of this simple method because it still works perfectly okay for me. So that's it for the back. Back to the front, I've gone ahead to join it together. You can see this is what it looks like. So next I'm going to go ahead to join the back of the dress and the front of the dress together this way. Okay, so my stitches is facing the right side of the fabric. You can see what we have. Now try to make sure that you take measurements of your bust area to make sure that it fits your client perfectly, so you don't tend to have excess at the armpit area or to be smaller at the armpit area. So make sure that you confirm the measurement so as the joining of the sides will be at the center side of your client. So when everything is perfect, you can then cut out the excesses on the sides so as to create easy access when you are placing your bone. We'll be adding boning to the side to give it a very firm finishing. This is very important for every corset dress. Okay, I went ahead to sew down a boning at the joining of the side, and this is what we have. I'm sorry I didn't film all the areas of the back. Now for the back, I went ahead to pipe the upper area and also the lower area. Okay, after joining together, pipe the hem of your blouse. I've gone ahead to add eyelet to the dress as well, and this is what we have looking so beautiful. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.